Hi, this is Jim from No Worries RVing. This morning we're getting ready to leave this place. It was a real nice campground. This was our lot. I don't know if we ever showed it or not. We're all hooked up and ready to go. We're heading to Natchez MS. We're kind of sad to leave this place. We're going to come back here in a few days. Last night we stayed at the Cracker Barrel in Tupelo, Mississippi. All stays says that you can't do it, but we talked to the manager here today. She said they have no problem with it. In fact, they're usually RVers themselves, so they like seeing us here. So here we are at the Tupelo Cracker Barrel. Cracker Barrel is kind of one of our favorite quickie night stays because they're really accommodating. You get up, you're going to have good breakfast or supper if you get there early enough. And they almost always have a place for RVs to park, and it's convenient for us. So we really like staying at Cracker Barrels.
We are headed to the Tupelo Visitor Center on the Natchez Parkway. This is part of the Parkway. Last night we came in when it was really dark, and there were deer everywhere on both sides of the Parkway. Plus an animal that we couldn't identify.
Yeah, something else.
Yeah, it looked like a wolf. It didn't look like a coyote. It was bigger than what a coyote would be, and the coloring wasn't correct for a coyote, so I'm not sure what it was. But it was big.
Here's a map of the Natchez Trace. From Nashville down to Natchez, which is close to New Orleans, I guess. They're fairly close. It led to the Mississippi River anyway. They talk about here the visitor center. They show who traveled it, the trace. Some history of the trace.
Is the Tupelo battlefield pretty much? It is. It's up on Main Street. We also have Bryce's Crossroads, which is 20 minutes. Yeah.
Some of the artifacts.
So the Tupelo battlefield is only the size of the city. Okay. And it's just got cannons. Okay. I was just curious. Yeah, but that's just okay. Well, actually, that's not really stuff. Yeah.
I always wondered what Sinew looked like, and there's some right there. You use it like thread.
Okay, thanks. That's good to know. There's some history there. Yeah.
Stick ball. Come around, there's a little wooden canteen. This is from the settlers started coming through. Flatboat.
And there's also a 15-minute video that you can watch, which we never do. And then on the ground, they have like a little sample. My suggestion would be is to go to the visitor center before you even start the Natchez Parkway. There is a map that shows all the stops. Well, not all the stops, but the map shows stops without the numbers, and then on the opposite side of the map, so you might want to get two, shows the actual mile marker and then what is at that stop. Along the road, you mainly get these little historic marker things that tell you that there's something coming up in a half mile, and then you can look on here. Now, not all of it's right on the Parkway. You have to go off the Parkway just a little to get to some of the things. But my big suggestion is stop at one of the visitor centers.
Their map is good.
Their map is really good, except for I would get two. One that shows you the map and the other side that shows the mile marker, what there is. The Tupelo battlefield is right down in downtown Tupelo, but it's only a block. And the actual battlefield is across the street where Walmart is. So they put a Walmart on the true battlefield. So just to let you know, if you decide to stop at the Tupelo battlefield, it's just a little city block with cannons and stuff on it, but the actual battlefield is where the Walmart is currently standing. Like I said, it's hard to flip back and forth. Yeah, it's a Chickasaw Village site. yeah, and then it says right here, Chickasaw Village Site. And it has exhibits on the Chickasaw Village that stood here. And it's mile marker 261.8.
The early 1730s.
So there's a little voice thing here that gives you a little history
Chickasaw leader
of the Chickasaw, which is pretty cool. And it talks about like the short.
chose to shelter the Natchez, even though it would likely provoke the French.
They would play
At the left of the
stickball
illustration, a group of 14 Natchez approached the village on foot.
with the
men carried weapons.
French.
The women carried the group's belongings in their arms and on their backs.
And then you can see the cement areas where the different type of structures were. So this was a winter house. They built out of logs covered with layers of oak. Hickory slant, 6 to 7 inches of clay, thick thatch of long grass. We were not stopping at every site. We just wanted to stop at one of the Chickasaw sites just to see what it was. So this is the fort, and the float was an enclosure of stout logs set up on an angle sloping inward. And there was a trench inside the wall. The Chickasaws shot the attackers through the ground level slits. They figured that this fort idea was probably suggested by the British when they were here. This is a little bit of Chickasaw. We're gonna stop on some of the old trace areas and check out some different things along the way. There would have been another summer house here and another one over there. And this was their whole site that they would have set up. It says they did plant corn. So at least you get an idea. There is a place that you can park your RV along the side there if you want to stop.
This was an actual Indian fort. They used logs they sharpened, had them facing in the ground, sticking out this way to keep out invaders. The invaders at that time were the French. The French were driving out people, the Indians, from the New Orleans area northward, and the British suggested, you know, building a fort, and this was their idea of a fort. This is the size that they built right here.
Yep. Yeah, and it wasn't just the French that they fought with. They had intertribal, like other tribes that they would fight with too.
The Chickasaws and the Natchez didn't like each other.
Yeah, they didn't like each other.
And
so it was infighting amongst the different tribes, and then the French.
And the French.
And then I'm sure the British, and then
later the British, and then later the United States.
Yep. Which is the way our history has always been.
Yeah.
So anyways, you get a little idea of the Chickasaw site.
The first time I've ever seen an Indian fort.
Yeah, me too.
I've never seen it, but here's where it was.
Yeah, and you get the description of what it would be like. And what I like is I was able to get out and stretch my legs a little. The next place we're going to stop is the Bynum Mounds. They were built between 2050 and 1800 years ago. So we're going to stop there. Bynum Mounds. There's some more mounds up north that are even, I guess, larger, but we're not going to the north, so.
Mexico, they find all kinds of axes for, you know, people that were mined and or found from Illinois, copper from Lake Superior, seashells from the Gulf Coast. All, you know, they all traded with each other. and that they find those artifacts in these mounds you see here.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance, go to the Hopewell Indian site in Ohio. It's really impressive too. It's a great place to get out and like stretch your legs, have a sandwich. It's not really a picnic area, but if you're RVing, you can. There are larger mounds on the trace, but this is just one that we decided to stop at as we're headed south. There's the RV. Onto the old trace site. That's where we're headed next. Pretty much it looks like this. Then there's areas where it's open a little bit.
This is the old trace, they call it. This is part of the original Natchez trace. You can see it's sunken down. They stop. They have a little set of steps you can walk down it to get to it instead of mangling over the side. It looks like a dry creek bed to me, but
it's not. It's where they would walk for 500 miles.
this is what it looked like basically. See the trees on the big trees on the sides.
In some areas it would be lower than this from them walking because erosion and stuff, but this is part of the original trail.
So like bands of Indians, even armies.
Even the Civil War they used.
Civil War they use this to get from the basically north to the south, deep south.
From Tennessee, Nashville. But at least it gives you a good idea. Of
Yeah,
what it
gives you a
looked
neat
like.
idea of what it,
In some areas it's a lot more sunken than this, which we'll show you towards the end of the video.
anyway, kind of cool.
Our next stop is going to be Cypress Swamp. If you're heading south, I believe it's going to be on the left side of the route. It's right after the River Bend picnic area and bathroom.
And we just parked. You can see how swampy it really is.
There's something about Mississippi, you don't have to have license plates on your vehicles. I don't know what it is.
Typical Mississippi truck.
But we've seen it on several vehicles that don't have any license plates. And we've seen it on trailers, like utility trailers that are running around with no license plates. The wolf one, that's an instant ticket.
Cypress Swamp.
Stuff's a little uneven. Look up them to watch it. Handrails new. That section. So we're keeping up with it at least. And now we're on the boardwalk.
Some of these have been here a long time. These, I think they call these knees. Don't they call them cypress knees or something like that?
I'm not sure, but I can tell the cypress trees in here by the bases have been here for a long time. Just stop here and just look at it for a second. Look right in through here. Can you see it through the trees in the swamp? It's pretty cool. Look at that tree. Look how big it is at the base.
It's a huge tree.
Can you imagine traveling through this? Oh, there's a white bird way down there. I don't know if you can see it. In the swamp. You can see it on the other side, Jim.
Davis?
Yeah, could be. But you'd be walking along the swamp area when you were on the trail. I'm sure at certain times of the year this is pretty mosquito-y. Mosquito heaven. And then the trail goes along down through. As you can see up there's the truck, the camper.
There's the rig.
Ready to go to the next spot. Actually, I think we need to stop and get gas in Jackson.
We're at the, I'm going to try to say this, Cosico. It's a visitor center here along the trace. It's the city of Cosico, whatever. Anyway, they have a bicycle campground here at this visitor center, the Traces Visitor Center. They have a place here you can put your bike up on, the stand, and tools to work on it if you need to. Really nice. The air in your tires. And across the street over here, past where we're parked, they call this a bicycle campground. And it's got picnic tables, place to throw your trash, place to cook, great. And some level spots there to set up a tent or whatever you wanted to do. Anyway, it's a bicycle campground. We're at Sunken Trace along the Natchez Trail. And this is a portion of the eroded or sunken old trace. They talked about how hard it was for people who had to walk 500 miles. How hard it was for them. Where if they got a broken leg or an arm, probably spelled death for them. So this was back in the early 1800s when people basically had to walk 500 miles to get to where we're going. Anyway, they got a little trail here that takes you down to the sunken trace. And right now it's leaf covered, but and if you look down there, this is what the trace looked like. So it's basically a trail. Kind of reminds you of like an Oregon Trail in a way, but
So that's how the real trail was.
but this is how the real trail was before
And some parts.
they filled in a lot of it.
I'm worried about snakes.
Everything's covered in leaves.
One time I need my hiking stick.
Got traces of pavement.
These can be slippier than crap.
Yeah, if they're wet, they're really slippery.
to get the hiking medallion. I deserve it. Wow.
Anyway, there's the trace.
The sunken part that you can still see. I think it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
I think one of the last stops we're going to do, if we have time, is the Ice Age, where it shows where the Ice Age stopped the erosion, which is like around mile marker 10.
Anyway, it's hard to imagine what it'd be like to say I'm going to walk 500 miles from here to there, and this is what you have to walk on, you know? And it's the only way to get around.
This way.
But they had armies and
Even the Civil War.
traders, and a lot of people walked this.
There's a lot of spots to stop that we didn't stop at.
Yeah, there's a lot of stops we didn't stop. They didn't have anything there, just is where it was at one time. Andrew Jackson is from the South, of course, and he supposedly walked this trace many times. And for the most part, it's been a nice road.
This should be it. Yep, this is it.
I had better luck going around.
Yeah, no, you do.
If you're an RV like ours, you have better luck going around the loop, so to speak.
And just parking on the
And
outside.
just park on the left-hand side
So
in the
that-
grass, basically.
That
But
big thing there that we're staring at is a bluff. It's Loess bluff. It's the deep deposit of wind-blown topsoil. It's pronounced Loess. It was formed during the Ice Age glaciers.
okay, this is the last stop we were making on the Natchez Trace, and this is Loess Bluff. And this bluff is actually a deposit of wind-blown topsoil known as loess. It was formed when the glaciers covered the northern half of the United States. Dust storms swept over for the western plains and covered this area. Wind-blown dust, depth of 30 to 90 feet. Here it rests on sands and clays of an ancient sea. It originally covered a vast region in this area and is now confined to a strip east of the Mississippi River from 3 to 30 miles wide from Baton Rouge to Tennessee. Where the old Natchez Trace passed over Loess, it formed sunken roads in places 20 feet deep. So that's why there is a sunken road. The wind blew it over, and the Natchez Trace didn't get covered, so it was basically sunken. Anyway, it's kind of neat. Always wondered, how did this place get sunken in the first place, and that kind of explains it. Anyways, our last stop here in the Natchez Trace. Hope you enjoyed our video of it, and we're going to be taking off. It's getting a little dark outside, and we're going to head towards back down to Mississippi. And this is where we stopped at here. This is where we've always had to stop at these places. We kind of pull over in the grass. No one seems to care, and it's fine. But anyway, hope you enjoyed our video. Please give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks.